really know what's going on over there other than everybody's dumb.
The instant you step out of line, you say something that they don't like and they don't like you personally, they're going to use all those pre-existing laws and they're going to use it on you.
A woman exposed her male genitalia to women and underage girls. That's what happened.
It's peer propaganda and it's super cringe, by the way. It's super cringe.
He wasn't there to take me. That's Austin Powers, Eric. The spy balloon who shagged me. That's the title of today's podcast. Unauthorized Opinions episode. Yeah. Unauthorized Opinions episode 96, uopod.com. Already demonetized on YouTube in advance of the show. Thank you, Susan DeVoy, Vicky, and that other weird guy who said it was Google's, duty to restrict whatever the hell it was.
Well, I mean, there's nothing I can maybe understand. If you have certain things about pharmaceuticals or certain illnesses or even elections, but what have we done? What have we done before starting that?
I don't know. Every single time we did lose an appeal lately, it was based on XBP.1.5. So maybe I should have just said that was the first appeal we've lost in like over a year, I want to say. But 99.9% of the time we win the appeal, so I don't know why it's just assumed that we're going to be demonetized every time. Somehow, me randomly playing that clip of Jimmy Fallon cucking every 40 seconds got us
that was despicable, though. It was almost like it was so cartoonish, it's like you kind of want to see a big bag with a dollar sign on it, like right off screen. It was just like, what is happening? But this is clown world. Sorry,
this is YouTube. That's okay. Twitter, best podcast on Getter. Shout out Getter people. Shout out Twitch guy. Shout out Spotify family, which is growing every single week. And Apple, I'm not sure the numbers on Apple to completely be honest, but we did chart there in the Netherlands and in France. So bienvenue and Hergeburger Durga to the Dutch and whatever they sound like. Tall, blonde people.
That's your people, right? French?
The French are my people. Don't tell anybody. Cheese. Curds, poutine, all that good stuff. Joe Louis. Do you know what a Joe Louis is?
I do not.
It is a pastry. There's a pastry factory in Quebec. Produces all these little cakes and stuff. Basically, you probably have everything that we have, like a moon pie is basically what it is.
Oh, okay. I've heard of that.
It's just that we have a French spin on everything. So thank you to everybody. Please don't forget, or forget then remember to subscribe and share. Most important things is subscriber number and watch hours on YouTube, and then we just want you to share,
comment,
share.
We'll show our feet if you guys leave comments. We'll
That's
do that.
true. There was that one guy one time trolling us on like 6 different accounts asking for feet photos, but nevertheless, Eric Butler, the spy balloon took days and days to shoot it down. Turns out there were tons of spy balloons before it. I saw at least 3 other ones. There's one in Japan. There's another one in the U.S., and I can't remember where the third one was. But this isn't the first spy balloon they sent out. Why do you think it took days for them to shoot it down? Biden says he ordered it shot down as soon as he heard about it, and then they still didn't shoot it down because General Milley overrid him. Why did it take so long, Eric Butler?
I wasn't aware of that. I thought at one point I read something about like they didn't want to shoot it down because they couldn't they didn't know where it was going to land and how to make sure that it wouldn't hurt people or something like that. So I didn't get the story of him claiming that he wanted to shoot it down immediately. But of course, we're talking about, Joe Beijing Biden, bro. Like he's in cahoots with China, basically, allegedly. So once it's done, what did it get off to the coast off the East Coast somewhere, and then they finally got rid of it. So it served its purpose. So it can pick up all the info. I don't even know what they were actually looking for. I mean, I don't know how this works. I'm not an international spy. I don't understand the ins and outs of how this actually works, or like what sort of information they hope to gather. Like, surveying farmland. I mean, when you're so high up in the air, what is it that you're actually collecting that you couldn't have already collected via TikTok, basically? You know what I mean? So I don't know why it took so long. To be honest with you, I kind of ignored the whole thing. It just reeked of distraction from the beginning. It seemed like every single, I mean, left, right, center, the hip hop outlets, DJ Academics, Shade, everybody was talking about it, and it just reeked of you know distraction to me. So I didn't even really pay too much attention to it, and now it's gone. So the news cycle continues. What do you take from it?
Well, this story I'm reading here is insane. So they're saying that he ordered it as soon as possible. And they said, however, amid concerns about the potential dangers of downing the balloon over land, Biden
Yeah,
says national security officials said the best time. So they let it travel all the way across the continental United States to go off the eastern seaboard because they first saw it in Montana. Shout out Yellowstone. Great show. And then it goes all the way to South Carolina on the East Coast before they shoot it down. Now, the only reasons I thought they wouldn't shoot it down was because it had some sort of weapon on it.
because Hunter Biden was in there
Chemical
smoking
agent.
crack.
He's just inside of it, like a baby in like a Simpsons intro or something. But that's the only reason, is maybe they thought there's some sort of chemical agent inside of it. China maybe said, don't shoot it down. There might be Brovid in there. See, I don't even know. We're already demonetized. There might be COVID in there. And now the Spotify label is going to say this episode features discussions about Brovid.
Rona. Can you just say Rona? They'll get it eventually. I don't know if when you disguise a word to get around it, and then they catch on to the word.
Yeah. It's like
Which,
skeet. Like
like
what
skeet
happened with the word skeet in the early 2000s.
or
All over
tickle
the radio,
bitties.
all over TV, and then old white people at the what's the FCC? They
Yeah,
figured out what it means. Wait a minute, this isn't what we thought it meant. But yeah, they let it go all the way across the country, and I can only imagine that they must have thought that maybe it contains a chemical weapon or something to that regard, which is why they wouldn't shoot it down immediately. And then Justin Trudeau congratulated them for shooting it down because it's an easy way for him to say, hey, I don't love China, even though I do. So I don't know. If Biden's saying they told him not to shoot it down, he's like, there's nothing I can do. But there is. You're the president. And I don't trust General Milley either.
Or Lloyd
And
Austin is mentioned in that article as well, who notoriously. You remember that photo of Lloyd Austin? I forget his actual title, but he's the old black guy, and he had the mask and the face shield while he's doing some weird.
right.
And it's just like, I mean, it became a meme on its own. Like, this is a grown man who's got this high ranking military position, but he's scared of the air. Or he's not really scared of the air. He's trying to make you scared of the air. You know what I mean?
This one.
Yeah, that's the one.
He looks like Darth Vader here.
Exactly. What's going on
Darth
with the guy
Vader
on the
was a black
left
guy.
there? The guy on the
No, that's glasses and a mask. You can't see my mouse, but this is glasses. Why can't you see my mouse anymore? You used to be able to see my mouse. I think it has something to do with sharing just the window. I thought I'd save the people from having to see my tabs all the time. I mean, it's just the stuff we're going to be looking at, but I don't know. He's wearing glasses and a mask. One of those
because
optical
now it
illusions,
kind of
I
reminds me
guess.
of what are those pup guys or whatever, they wear the dog outfits. You know what I'm talking about? Those.
Oh, like those weirdos that are into like pretending to be dogs.
Yeah. And then, it was a month or two ago when a couple of them, like these retired army guys, said, I have been a pup. I don't know what they call
Right.
it. Like, yeah, like
Pup
kind of
play, Eric, I believe.
yeah, pup play.
That's
Kind
unfortunately
of
what it is.
reminiscent of the one story that really
Furry,
stuck
somebody
with
said in the chat. Shout out Twitch guy.
Twitch. Yeah, shout out. What was I gonna say? Babe the Pig Boy, right? That really stuck with me because me as a grown man, getting old, not understanding that there was this deep dark side of this subculture. Like, I mean, it's just a dark world out there. I didn't realize how dark it actually got with these guys. Back when the Impox was a thing, and we were playing both sides of the fence. Like, oh well, you got to get a shot for that, and it's not just affecting this community. And then remember the whole men who have sex with men community thing when they were pushing that language. Like, it's just completely dystopian. Meanwhile, the guys who were coming down with it were drinking urine at. I mean,
Well, you have to. And then we probably talked about Brazilian martial artists drinking their own urine. Shout out Lyoto Machida. Lyoto the Dragon Machida, that is. Question for a Twitch guy, which we can get to later, is why Twitch? Why watch this on Twitch? I don't know. Did you just have Twitch app open one of these days and you're just like, hey, I'll watch this on Twitch for no reason? I'm interested in hearing that part. I'm also interested in you signing up for our Patreon at patreon.com/uopod because you're such a dedicated fan.
nice.
Why not sign up for our Patreon? And once we get to a certain threshold, then we'll start including those names in the description and the beginning of every podcast or the end of it. But yeah, patreon.com/uopod. We'll get back to you on that. The story that I wanted to talk about out of Canada was this the Freedom Convoy, if you recall what that is, the truckers. They had a little bit of thing. I'm not familiar with the story. It's pretty much a dead issue in terms of the convoy itself, but they went back to Alberta, and I guess they were driving through British Columbia, and there was these protesters who held up these signs, and what they said was yesterday several convoys spread hate and fear. Again, this is just by driving through. Spread hate and fear around the British Columbia. That's their most western province. Think basically California.
Yeah, I was going to say
Run by
Oregon
hardcore
or something.
leftists.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, probably closer to that. I mean, you're still no, because California has probably just as many like Asian street gangs as British Columbia does. Community members in Cowichan, not sure where that is, gathered to share hope and love along the route before their local convoy took up space. It's so awesome to see everyone uniting against hate. Love wins. So first of all, there's 3, 6, 7 people pictured here. And this is a popular thing to do in Canada. I don't know if you guys do it, but people like to hang out over the overpass and show their support for something. Protest if you want. Even though there's no indication that they spread hate and fear in the convoys, it's actually just spreading like defending these people who staying their rights to not have their bank accounts
Hate
seized and
and
their
fear?
businesses shut down. Yeah, hate and fear. The
Dude.
hate of the government shutting you down and the fear of the government making you lose your job. That's the basis of it. Whether there's idiots in the group, which there's many idiots in the convoy group, but there's the vast majority is people who, including truckers who had to be vaccinated, was the whole thing it started. Even though they're by themselves and isolated and delivering your stuff, you want to force them to do that. So that's the basis of it. And these people want to say it spreads hate and fear. And I took issue with such low effort that these people are showing here. I mean, you have a person wearing or donning a pride flag with, of course, the transgender flag because they've jumped on top of that that movement and said, hey, we're included here. Nothing about the movement of truckers has anything to do with gay, straight, or lesbian. There's plenty of gay people there. If you actually go there and interview people, they'll be like, I'm gay, this is an anti-gay.
I hope someone clips this.
There's there's Indian guys who are saying, and you can clip this part too, there's Indian guys saying this isn't racist, we're not white supremacists. Sikh guys as well. And so this comes out of absolutely nowhere. And then there's another person that we'll point out here on the right side that says, I heart democracy, or just heart democracy. These are the lowest of the low efforts in terms of protesting something. So you bring out a pride flag, which basically means these people that I'm protesting, I'm implying that they're against gay or trans people in some way, shape, or form. No evidence of that whatsoever. There's more evidence that they're actually racist based on a couple of flags or something, even though that is thoroughly debunked. There's actual something you can try to point to for that, but there's no evidence of anything like this. So low effort, number one. Then the I heart democracy. You're implying that these people hate gays and are against democracy somehow. Is it democracy that the government shuts down your bank account, stops people from donating to a campaign, shoots a protester with a gas canister, tramples somebody with a horse, busts open the cars I mean, you can say it's because they've overstayed their welcome for a protest. You can argue that. But to say that they're anti-democracy and anti-gay by way of flying these flags is the lowest effort possible on the planet. You go out there and you just say, "Hey, I love democracy." Therefore, the people who are pro convoy are anti-democracy. First of all, you don't live in a democracy. You live in a type, I guess, of democracy. But we have a constitutional monarchy, parliamentary system. There's no one vote for one person, and I know that's kind of splitting hairs, but we're not like some sort of Greek democracy. The U.S. even less so, but we're a parliamentary country where people vote in representatives. That's not what a democracy is. I'm sorry. And that just goes to show how low effort it is. You want people to congratulate you, and these people come up and they gather in groups of upwards of 7, maybe 10 if we're missing an arm off screen. And they want to say, "Hey, congratulations. No, congratulations to you too. Aren't we standing against hate? Oh, they're anti-gay. Look how great we are. Oh, they're anti-democracy. I wrote this sign on cardboard." The lowest effort, and what it comes down to, Eric Butler, and what we talked about before, is these are just losers. This is how they attempt to, form a community and feel like they're good people. And for what? For something they don't understand. I feel like we're back in 2016 where the left's effort to be a group of people that protest against something, the bar is so low that we've come full circle where it's like you don't have to know anything anymore, because in 2016 it was stand up against racism and bigotry and find people on both sides and rapists at the border. And now it's gone full circle back around to you hate transgender people because you're against them indoctrinating your children, all this sort of stuff. And we've reached this point, this nexus in the universe where it takes the 7-year hyperloop jump to get back to where we started. And now we're going to do it again when Trump runs again. And I wonder what the next thing's going to be. Is it just going to be Trump's a bigot? How are they going to say that he's worse off this time? I don't know. But that's my problem with this sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. They basically, as far as the Trump thing, I mean, they obviously beat that horse into the ground, and I think I'm pretty confident that most people, can see through it. Of course, you have the pockets in California and New York, and these big cities here and there. But even if you go there, even if you zoom out and you look at these places and you call them like deep blue cities, from Arizona, I can look at San Francisco or New York and call it a deep blue city. But I guarantee you that if you go there and actually talk to people, they're not quite as stupid individually as they are on the whole. And I think I kind of made that point before. But with this, first of all, or I guess this is second now, but the hate and fear thing, right? That's just the most dystopian thing that you could possibly. That's just the most double speak thing ever, because that's exactly what our government, the Canadian government, had been doing, right? They had been telling you that if you didn't wear a mask, you were a murderer. If you didn't get the shot, you were a murderer, right? That's sowing division. That's sowing hate. They did that by scaring people for 2.5 years, right? So they literally did those exact things to normal people. They ruined lives all across the world, basically, by making people scared and then turning them against their own family members and turning them against their friends and getting them fired from their job. So hate and fear is exactly what they did the entire time. And then you have these tards on the overpass talking about hate and fear with their very obviously low effort stuff. Now I will, as I always like to do, go a little tinfoil and say, I mean, what are the odds that these people are just like paid off by some weirdo organization, right? We know the Trump Pence Out Now people. I don't know if you remember them with the orange stickers everywhere. Trump Pence Out Now were basically
What was that
paid
group
off.
called?
I don't remember. I know. I just remember those orange stickers. They were everywhere in New York.
People
They
were definitely paid. I'll look it up. Continue.
They were paid off. And again, I bring this up all the time because it sticks with me. It's like one of the kind of like Babe the Pig Boy. Certain things just stick with you. But those protesters in New York that were pushing naloxone and Narcan, or I guess Narcan is the branded version of naloxone, so naloxone is the generic. Anyways, when I'm out there talking to protesters and I'm expecting them to say something about Breonna Taylor or George Floyd or any of these people that they believe to be martyrs, and they start talking about Narcan because they're paid off. They're paid off. I mean, and then of course I've been screaming this for years now, but when you look deeper into Narcan, you will see it's being heavily funded by the Open Society Foundations. I always forget if it's Open Societies Foundation or Open Societies Foundation or
No,
Foundation.
singular Society Foundation.
Okay, well, when you realize that, okay, so these people that are protesting at this BLM protest don't mention one thing about any BL. They just start talking about Narcan, and then you research what the Narcan does, and it immediately pops up Open Society Foundation. So I said all that to say, while yes, this is completely low effort, yes, it's completely dystopian, and they're doing exactly, or they're claiming to be stopping exactly what the government had been doing for at least the past 3 years. I mean, we can go back further if you want to talk history and stuff, but they're claiming they're putting a stop to what the heavy-handed government has been doing the entire time. And the fact that it is so low effort, and there's it's seven or eight people there, leads me to believe, yes, refuse fascism. That's exactly it. Yes, correct.
It's the worst website I've ever seen.
So I guess all that said, is there a chance that these people are like paid off by an organization kind of like this?
I think I'm going to donate right now. It's one of the worst websites I've ever seen, to be fair. You mentioned tinfoil hats, Eric. What is this story? Our next story, our assistant captain story, we'll call it. Costco having some sort of battle with tinfoil that comes in a butter substitute of some kind? Is that what it is?
No, it's just it's the packaging for butter. Is it Marigold? I believe. Let me see here.
It's gonna be right here.
Kerrygold. Kerrygold.
You want to go ahead and read that?
Yeah, so Kerrygold, an all-natural butter that's used to elevate anything from baked goods to breakfast omelets. So right off the bat, they're kind of praising the butter as a decent product, right? Like,
yeah, I know.
That's sort of like, okay, we like this stuff. Was yanked from California. Exactly. Was yanked from California and New York grocery stores recently. Bay Area Costco employees told this the SFK. So now this is another thing that we always see. 99% of the time, California and New York will walk in lockstep. I made a YouTube video about it a long time ago when they did basically everything the same within a week of each other, from all their hospital ships, the hospital ships that they brought to the state, the hospital ships when they left the state, the lockdowns, all of this stuff happened so, like, I mean, they're clearly reading from the same playbook. This goes on top of that. So they take it upon themselves to go up. Let's read the highlighted part really quick. Because of this ban, actually go up a little bit more. Can we see what the bill is called again? Assembly Bill 1200. Okay. California's new law on hazardous chemicals. The bill bans all plant fiber based food packaging containing PFAs that are either intentionally added or present at levels exceeding 100 parts per million total fluorine. Now, here's another good thing too. California's Department of Toxic Substances Control. That's just another governmental, another agency that is probably siphoning funds. I mean, there's an agency for everything. In San Francisco, they literally have an agency to clean the poop off the street. So there's always this weirdo government agency that is claiming to help you, and we know now. Again, I'm sure this has all been going on for longer than the last 3 or 4 years, but it's been highlighted by what we've seen in the last 3 or 4 years with Rona. So do we really trust any of these quote unquote scientists now? They're going to tell you that the foil your butter is wrapped in is no good. And you can't, I mean, what about a bakery who actually uses that stuff and would it be okay if it just came in another packaging? So say you're not just a family, right? You're not just a family of 3 or 4 buying at the store, but you are a restaurant owner and you might buy it I don't know, maybe straight from the source. I don't know how to buy bulk butter. I'm not a chef. I'm not a restaurateur or a baker or anything, but you could buy that very same butter, but if it comes in like a tub and not a little foil packaging, then it's okay. I guess so. These people are always trying to play God, right? Like they think they truly are telling you that they're saving your life by not letting you buy this butter. And I just thought about it because how stupid the last. I mean, this is just absurd. This is an absurdity, and there's a long list of new laws that took effect in California in 2023 that of course are just nonsensical. They're not going to be beneficial for anybody except for the political establishment who's going to maybe be able to find some extra people, or they're going to go out and virtue signal and say that they're, we're cleaning up, we're keeping you safe. Meanwhile, there's people, is self vaccinating under the Bay Bridge, and Skid Row in Los Angeles is filthy. They've got the plague there. Remember when a homeless woman threw something at Larry Elder when he was running for governor? So they're not gonna pay attention to any of that. They're not gonna clean up the prostitutes hanging outside of an elementary school, but they're gonna take away your butter because of the foil that is packaged in. It's just it's beyond.
Well, there's a way that somebody's making money off of all of this stuff. People want to believe that this stuff is done by the government to protect somebody, but even if you're taking away a chemical, you're going to have to replace it with something, and that something is going to benefit somebody else's pocket, is what people basically need to understand if they don't understand it already. And it takes us all time to come to these realizations. Like, there's a movie that talks about, I forgot the name of it, talked about how when Obamacare first started, that it became covered under Obamacare that the government would pay for people going to rehab. And in California, this became an industry because bringing somebody into a rehab means the center, that the rehab center gets, I forget how much it was, but like, let's say 25 grand per person. And then the person who brings them in, well, they're going to say, I'm not going to bring people into you unless I get a cut. So that person's getting, let's say, 5 grand a person. So, and then it becomes an industry where a person's finding somebody to go to rehab, and they're making it a professional job to find people to bring to a certain rehab where they can get a cut. And then every time the rehab people get a person to come in, they get paid by the government. And then you got the pharmaceuticals that are mandated, and all gets paid under the government. So you could realistically assume, based on this being a fact, what I just explained, that somebody in the government, I'm not saying it's Obama, but whomever, says, hey, what if we come up with a portion of Obamacare where you, pharmaceutical company, you automatically get $100 million a year based on pharmaceuticals to help people get off drugs, whether it's the one you described, or the one that stops people from ODing, that they inject into people, whatever the drug may be. Now I've allotted this much to you. Oh, hey, person who runs, network of rehabilitation centers, what if I put in something in this bill, in the Obamacare bill, that says you guys get your shit covered by the federal government? So you see how all these hands are at play. And why do people in the government do this? Because you have to understand that a lot of these people, members of the House, they're only in there for 2 years some of the time. Other things, 4 years, 5 years. While they're in office, they can't be making money doing something else under their name. So what you have is people who are in office trying to set themselves out, using the power of the office to set themselves up for post-office life by cutting deals and making other people money, or starting businesses with other people under their name, making them money so that there's money or connections for them on the other side. So maybe you make Pfizer or whomever get this beneficiary of $100 million a year from the federal government. When you're out of office, maybe you're a congressman or a state representative. Maybe Pfizer is going to pay you 20 grand to come and speak to a group of people or something in exchange. So you have that money coming down the pipe. So basically what you need is people who don't need the money to join government, or people who love the place they're governing so much that they don't care about the money. Those are the only two options as I see it. And when you have something like this, where it's like, it's simple as a butter company being rejected for 2 months, that could be somebody's making money off of the substitute that goes into the butter. Somebody doesn't like a guy who operates the butter company, so they're going to say, we're going to make you lose 2 months of profits because they said it's going to take a couple months. Your Costco contract's going to be gone for 2 months. You're going to lose all that revenue because I'm going to point out that you're not completely up to code on the additives you have in it. Could be any one of those reasons. The reason it always isn't, Eric, and I'll say always, is because the government cares about you. If they cared about you, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing in New York now, which is, illegal immigrant children don't have to get vaccinated to go to school. That's not because they love you. That's because they have weighed the options here, and sending them to school looks better for them than it does to force them to comply like everybody else.
Well, this is coming solely because I've just finished watching Sopranos, but it's very mobbish. That's exactly what they are. They're gangsters, right? They're gangsters, and they wheel and deal. And like you said, I don't know. I obviously can't say for sure, but somebody's probably in cahoots with the wax paper company that's gonna substitute for the foil. It's just every single little thing. Just to like piggyback on what you're saying, it's none of it is for your own benefit. There's always some sort of backdoor dealing with every single thing these people do, and that's what the. I mean, I get it. Everybody both parties. Yes, both parties are corrupt. I'm sure you guys have like 7 parties or whatever, all completely corrupt. But there's something about the way that the establishment left in these deep blue states like California and New York, that they've gotten so good at the manipulation that they can put it right in your face and still people will buy it. I mean, they're literally, I know we harp on this every single week, but they're literally telling you that a little boy can become a little girl, and some people are like, yeah, that's true, yeah, let's do it, snip snip, and they've cornered the market, and it's actually it's remarkable how they managed to gain control of people so well.
Your second great segue of the day comes to LGBT group in Utah calls bill that requires adult content warnings for public events. Now, this is something I wrote for in the Blaze. Unfortunately, I've been writing a lot about this stuff and child predators lately. There's a lot of arrests going on that topic lately, federal cases and whatnot. What happened here was an HBO show covered a drag show in Utah that happened in a public park. And of course, I'll go with, instead of normal, I'll go with, like most people, they weren't happy with their kids seeing it. Now, what they've done is they've introduced a bill. This guy named Colin Jack, which is a good name, he introduced a bill that says, you know what, if this takes place on public property, so anybody who gets a permit to conduct an event on public property, it will now have a physical signage that says adult content warning or mature content warning, something like that, if it's at a park or a government owned arena. Now, obviously, the other side of that would be the government is now deciding what's mature content and what is not. Now, I think that might be okay because this is being done at the municipal level. This isn't the state, the actual physical state of Utah saying we're going to determine it, but each municipal community will decide what's adult content warning. And to be fair, if you want to go and see an event, if I want to go see, a movie, and it just says there's this type of content, I'm still going to see it. This isn't stopping people from seeing it. This isn't putting an age restriction on it. This is literally just saying this is a warning. And it's hard for me to, say no to this because I know why it's happening. But it's some part of me saying like the government shouldn't be allowed to compel you to do it, but then take it to a private venue. This is the government, is saying this is a caveat to doing it on our property. I get that, but I think I get some solace out of it knowing that it's a community decision. And certain communities, it turns out, don't want drag shows where people don't know that asses are going to be hanging out, stuff like that. So what HBO did is they filmed a drag show at this event, and there was also a town hall meeting and everything. The event went on, but now this guy is getting support where where the glass starts to become clear, on The Simpsons when Bart rubs the glass with a greasy fish burger and it becomes clear and a bird flies into it, is the response from an LGBT activist group. And we're going to show you some of the drag queens in a second, but an activist group called Equality Utah, and they're honest when they have equality in their name. That's a given every time. Tries to say that it's about free speech. So they're saying that the government venues are going to be sued for labeling things adult content because the people who put on the show are going to complain that they disagree with the warning. But it is, in fact, because of the drag show. So, and you wouldn't think that the guy would admit it, but they asked him, the representative, and he says it is in response to the controversies, right? Clarified Representative Jack. I keep thinking that's his first name. It's his last name. Adding that he hopes the bill,
like a movie character, like an action hero. Was it Colin Jack?
Yeah, he hopes the bill will save controversies, while giving the parents the ability to protect their children and either take them to the show or not the show. Like, that's the intention. Do we have to believe him? I mean, he probably got calls from some Mormons and stuff like that to say, hey, we want to deter people. Parents are angry. So whatever the angle is for him to impress his voter base, I understand that, and I'm open to hearing that. But the Equality Utah lady, Marina Lowe, says it's a trap. That's the excuse she's using, is that it's a trap for public entities. When they put an adult content warning label on, people are going to sue them because they're going to disagree with it. But what we know it is about, which she already said up here, she said that it appears, she told the newspaper that covered this, or the website, that she thinks it's about her, even though the bill doesn't mention drag queen shows. And the guy says, yes, it is about that. So you're going to see in a second why people have a problem with this, because it is a disturbing show. Any thoughts on this, Eric, before we see footage of, these hot dudes?
Yeah, well, first of all, come on. You can't play the free speech card at this point in time, right? Like, that ship sailed, because we don't have, look, I get it. There's certain things that you can't say, whatever, threats of violence and stuff. But even on these platforms, there's a handful of things that you can't say, otherwise you will be cut off. So free speech is done. They can't play that card. That's hypocrisy through the roof. That's another double speak thing, like the protesters there. Like, we're stopping hate and fear, even though that's exactly what the establishment has been doing for at least the past 3 years. And there's one other thing I was going to say about this, and I lost my train of thought about it. So I guess just play the video.
Alrighty. Let's go ahead and throw that up there. Tell me if you can't hear it.
A drama up top. I wanted to be kind of nude in it. We added like a little panty strap to give it a little sex appeal. I wanted to be like a nature goddess, really. Wigs and Grace made this incredible.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Stop. Pause it. It was very. I remember just before we get too deep into this, which this is just brutal. But what I mean. And I know people have used this argument before, and I haven't really heard an answer. Maybe you have one, but you physically, literally can't take a kid into a bar. It's illegal. You can't take a kid into a regular strip club. So why is this? I mean, I guess because if there's no booze and there's no real nudity, then it's okay. But where's the line drawn? You know what I mean? I guess that is a perfect place to play the video and see how far they're going to take it. I mean, if we're talking about HBO, they can show anything. But I guess they're not really getting naked at these actual shows. It's just they're
ass, and it is adult content, though. If we're going that route, like, it's men talking about sex, and like, I get that they're joking and it's supposed to be a presentation, but it's not for kids. It's based on men who get joy out of dressing up as women because they want to be like, they see like a burlesque girl or something, or a pageant girl, and they're just like, yeah, I want to be pretty and I want to have the spotlight on me. What I don't understand, because we know it's women watching this stuff and paying for this stuff, but I don't understand is why you can't just have a bunch of fat girls dressed up like this and watching them. You are watching gross, fat, perverted men live out their sexual fantasies on stage, and you're just like, woo, this is amazing because I feel like I'm promoting equality. Now, there are girls who liked this stuff before we already slid down this huge slope when it was just like that one show RuPaul's Drag Race, and they're just like, I like these guys, like that James Charles is the YouTuber. Is that the YouTuber's name? The gay guy who did all the makeup and stuff. They would say he's great at makeup, and like he explains it really well, and it's a gay guy. It doesn't really matter who's putting on the makeup. And to an extent, I get that, but the slippery slope is real, as John Doyle says. And this is where we are now. So
the slope we already slipped. We're at the bottom. Well,
is there a reason why women don't want to do this? Is there a reason why they can't? There isn't 3 girls who want to do this, or is it because that it's guys who are doing it, and that's what I think. It's because they're so brave, and I'm a great person, and I'm applauding them. You know,
it's just creepy guys, and it reminds me of Senator Scott Wiener. This is what he's promoting. They want it to be for kids. And just really quick, I definitely want to get into the video, but I don't know if there's a story out of Florida where a venue had their liquor license removed because they got a warning from the DeSantis administration to not do these things. They did it anyways, and now they don't have a liquor license. So that's what's going down in Florida, because they're actually trying to put a stop to it. And I think that's actually better than these little notices, right? Like these signs. This is kind of like gun-free zone. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, like to bring another Simpsons reference into it, there's like, do not enter. There's a sign that says do not enter, and then under it says, or do whatever you want. I'm a sign. You know what I mean? It's like
no homers. We're allowed one.
Okay, so let's play the video. Let's play it. Oh my!
Very elaborate and just styled right and pulled back with a nice bang. It was just gorgeous in this like honey yellow blonde. We went really drapey with the fabrics so that they would flow in the wind and give drama, and made like succulent shoulder pieces that were rhinestone. The makeup I did.
So here's the thing.
This is obviously the only target here is kids. This is not for men. This is not for women. This is for kids who don't know any better, in my humble opinion. Well, because anybody who's old enough can look at this and be like, this is gross. What are you talking about? But a kid doesn't know what's going on.
Well, the thing is they are targeting kids with their content. I believe it's Snow White or something they go to that they try to I forget what it says here. I just don't want to skip ahead and lose our spot. But they're inspired by some children's movie, a Disney movie. I know as a trans person, of course, I wanted to showcase that in my community. That's funny. Hold on a second. It's near the bottom. Almost like French style. We talk about. See, the thing I was getting at earlier, though, Eric, is that if you're being 100% on the other side and trying to play devil's advocate and defending this stuff, you would go, well, look at all the pageantry and look at all the stuff. But what we just pretend that it isn't the factor here is that girls don't want to be mean, and they don't want to say that this guy is doing it because he gets sexual pleasure out of it. But it's true. This is the essence of losery guys. Like, every girl knows a losery guy that they went to high school or college with, that, you know, he was desperate for her or her friend or something like that, and he doesn't know how to talk to girls. And he spends a lot of time alone, and that's what, you know, he gets way too into porn or something, and it turns him weird. Like, guys know these guys, girls know these guys, and this is what you've allowed to creep into your space, into your bathrooms and all this other stuff. You have allowed that creepy guy that you didn't give a minute to in high school because he was indeed creepy, because he spent too much time doing weird things instead of talking to people, making friends, learning how to make life work. You know, and you can say they're a victim of something. And if they are, then that's fine. Let's help them. But what this is that creepy guy got an avenue to get closer to what he wanted. And what this creepy guy wants is to be known as a pretty girl. And he wants other guys and other girls to give him the spotlight and the attention that he didn't get as a youth. And now the tables are turned, and you're paying to see him, and he's beautiful and he's magical, and he can be the pretty girl he always wanted to be if he's trans, or he can dress up like the pageant model he always wanted to be because he's gay. And this is the thing that women who support this stuff don't want to accept. They want to think that it's all about makeup and pageantry and showmanship, when in reality, at the end of the day, It is a guy living out his weird, creepy fantasies in front of you, and you've accepted this, whether or not you truly are willing to admit it or not. Now, I'm not saying that we should ban drag shows. It just isn't for kids, just like strippers aren't for kids. So you have to just be able to accept this, you know, the sexuality that is inherently part of it, but they don't want to believe it because, just like a lot of other things, people don't want to believe. Maybe that Trump caused inflation, for example. Maybe you don't want to believe that, but the reality is that there is this degree of creepy sexuality to it. And if you're gonna stand behind and say that you like this stuff, you're gonna have to agree that it shouldn't be for kids. I'm sorry. And if you want to say that a man, if there's no, sexuality involved in it, in his dressing or his what he says or his actions, and you want to see it's just about his makeup and stuff, it's still not for kids, because you have to understand how men's minds work. And this is the creepy guy who grew up and he found something that society's accepting him for. If it wasn't this, it would have been something else that became popular. I feel like, Eric, if it wasn't this, it'd be like a guy putting and I'm sure it exists, a guy, putting a dollhouse together and petting his dolls. In fact, it does exist. There are super creepy guys who like pet dolls' hairs, and some of them I'm sure are amazing artists, and some of them are just creepy dudes. I'm sorry to tell you.
Yeah, well, I think you're right. And you say like a degree of creepy sexuality. It's like 99% creepy sexuality and 1%.
Sleeping Beauty. Sorry to interject, but Sleeping Beauty is what they went for in this one. So there's 3 gross, disgusting, obese dudes dressing up as characters from a children's cartoon, because when they were kids watching Sleeping Beauty, they wanted to be, a beautiful girl who is sought after by a prince. You're telling me that there's nothing sexual about that? When you're a straight woman and you want it, it's because that's what every girl wants, is to be a beautiful princess who's sought after by a wonderful man. It's a fantasy story based on the dreams a child would have. When you turn that into a boy, that's a boy who wants to be pretty like a girl and wants a man to kiss him. And like, where are you going to see that fantasy played out in regular male stuff? Eric, are you going to go and be like, I want to recreate, Beauty and the Beast in my basketball game? We're going to have a Beauty and the Beast night, and I'm going to dress up like Gaston, and the opposing team's going to dress up as Belle, and there's going to be the Beast is the referee and the mascot. No, you're not going to, as a straight man, you're not going to inject a fantasy of, a girlish fairy tale into your everyday life. You're going to do that if you're a gay guy who looked up to that the way a girl did. That's just the truth, and people don't want to admit that.
Well, I of course would do a Beauty and the Beast golf tournament. Neither here nor there. But
the GI Joe golf tournament.
Your thing about it being a degree, right? So it's I would venture to say 99% weird sexuality and 1% makeup, right? And that's what. But who is that makeup for? That's a coloring book for kids. To your point, it's all about kids. No, a regular woman doesn't wear crazy makeup like that. It's the only people who wear crazy makeup and stuff like that. That's not teaching a regular woman how to get done up for a night on the town so she looks really good. It looks ridiculous. It's completely cartoonish. And I've said before, why is it okay to do woman face? You can't do blackface. You would be burned at stake. But you can do woman face, no problem. Put on all these costumes, this gaudy makeup, and these weird earrings and costume jewelry and all this stuff, because that's what you think a woman looks like, even though you can step outside and see that's not how any regular women look. Not one. You don't see any regular women that look anything like that.
Because just like with anything else, once these people get criticized, then it's because you hate them. You criticizing legal immigration, you must hate people from other countries. Are you criticizing trans people? It's because you hate them. It can never be based on its merits. As soon as these people started getting backlash in society, they said, you hate transgender people and you hate their gender expression and all this stuff. But the slope always falls, Eric. They can't keep it as this thing that's in nightclubs that girls go to in a group because they love the outward awkward sexuality of the drag queens. It couldn't just stay like that. It was never going to stay like that because they're weird people.
Yes, but I also wanted to address one thing too. Is that you said at the beginning that women or girls or whatever, they're not really able to kind of stand for themselves against this, so they just pretend it's all good, right? But my question is, it seems a little when so they can't they're not going to question this, they're not going to stand up for real women's rights or anything, which I get it, this is not really infringing on women's rights, but this is, like I said, woman face. They're not going to question any of that. But and these weird creepy guys, as you call them, living out their sexual fetish. But if a guy at a gym working out looks at a woman for too long, they can call that out and put him on TikTok and put him on blast because he looked in my direction while I was struggling with a 50-pound plate. That guy, we could stand up to that and call him a creep and try to get him to lose his job and say he's a creepy sexual weirdo, when he was just like, okay, like, if there's hot chicks in the gym, there's hot chicks in the gym. Like, that's, you want to look hot, right? That's why you're in the gym, and you should. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just weird how it's so backwards that when a regular guy offers to help spot a woman or glances in her direction because she's looking good in the gym, that's completely frowned upon. And that's not creepy at all. That's just a masculine a thing. That's just human nature, right? Like, men are attracted to women, women are attracted to men. At least that's how it used to be back in my day when I was growing up. But now, this weird, creepy group of people, like you mentioned, they can live out every single sexual fantasy on stage in front of you and your kids, and you have no choice but to clap like a seal. So how I get that these two things aren't directly related, but it seems to me that there is a certain group of women who are ready to stand up and be a boss bitch or whatever to a man who glances in her direction at the gym. But as soon as a man wants to use the female locker room, or he wants to do swimming, or he wants to be a cyclist, or he wants to just show his butt in front of little kids, then mum's the word. Can't say anything. Cat got your tongue. How's that?
Because it's a safe move. It's safe and supposedly societally acceptable and brave of you to say the patriarchy. But
it's not. But it's not okay for a grown man who's in there lifting weights to glance at a woman and maybe
you've been
wave
watching
or
some
smile.
Matt Walsh, haven't you? All right, the guy in the gym, he's basically doing nothing at all. I should put up. I wish I had my glasses in here. The guy in the gym, he's basically doing nothing at all. Here's a 13-minute video about it. Here's the thing we're not saying. It's a perversion. It's a sexual perversion. Matt Walsh is somewhere between me and Alex Jones, his voice.
Well, I'm just saying,
glasses.
It seems weird that, yeah, you're right. It's safe. It's safe to get some likes on TikTok by berating a guy, but you can't stand up to these weirdo creeps who want to simulate pregnancy and fellatio and all sorts of stuff in front of little kids at a park in Utah. Can't do that.
You wouldn't choose Sleeping Beauty if you weren't thinking you were a girl or you weren't appealing to children. I
can't deal with this makeup either, bro.
Like, a super dramatic look, and I added
even this. It's toned down, but that's still
eyelashes to it, made out of vinyl.
Oh, it gets worse. Don't you worry.
As large as it could go. I felt like the
you're as large as you can go with this.
More it could blend in a
three
moment,
fat guys,
all the way down to my nice, clear, high-heeled, gorgeous pumps.
Like, even if we're just being like, okay, this is like this is still a disgusting, like, overweight person. Like, not gonna be. I'm not taking off my shirt on the stream by any means, but I'm not being like, this is a gorgeous, beautiful thing. There's like 2 girls at HBO who pitched this show and said it can get views, who are just like, this is amazing. This is the best show ever.
But they also had like rock designs up the front to look like they weren't really
skip through a bit. YouTube doesn't like skipping through on the stream. But like,
I mean, but even
this is just a guy sitting there
with makeup.
In makeup.
Yeah. This makeup would still be too much, right? Even
of course it is. Yeah, for if you're just out like a normal day, yeah.
Yeah, or even, I mean, even out, even if you're 22 years old and you're going to a nightclub, that still looks a little weird. You don't go that hard, but that's what woman face is. They think like where did they get this depiction from though? They could walk outside their house in any American city, small town or
It's
otherwise.
mental illness is why. Like you want, like it's supposed to be like this is like an exaggeration of what a woman is, but it's like, why do you want to be an exaggeration of a woman is? I'd like to know like the original person who thought this up and like what their inspiration was, and it's probably something from like the 17 or 1800s Europe where they had these gigantic dresses and the royalty had this stupid makeup on. But you just like look at this guy, and you just tell me that like a guy, would you want, first of all, no woman would date a guy who does this no matter what they say. If this guy wanted to claim to be straight, I doubt he is going to be, but if a guy who is straight did this, would you let him around your children? But no, but because he's claiming to be part of like some sort of broad community, which doesn't make sense in itself. Like trans people are not lesbian and gay people. Like that's just it. I don't know how you group these people together. It's supposed to be based on their like group suffering, but it's a complete lie. Just like people of color is a complete lie. But like this is, you want this guy around?
Face that was
like a guy who does this?
Drag. And Gloria really turned this wig out because it's not just like all swept to one side. Somehow I had to like make this wig almost like it was cut down.
Like what is that? Like why? And of course, this is more HBO and keep going. And that's a guy who wants to be a woman. And then they start to talk about the stuff about Sleeping Beauty, how it was inspired with Sleeping Beauty. I've had enough of that, Eric. I think I've had more than enough of that.
I think I've had enough of that too. It's just so dark. It's very dystopian, bro. It really is. I know it's overused, but it is.
UOPod.com, Twitter, YouTube, Getter, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. Thanks for listening on everything. We're not done yet. I want to get to another thing, but please subscribe. Please share everything. If you're on Getter, please reshare the posts. We're getting a lot of views on Getter these days. If you're on Spotify or Apple or Google Podcasts, please give it a 5-star rating, because I know you think it's 5 stars. And keep sharing it. Share it on, I know Spotify has the share as an Instagram story thing. Please do that. Please share the link. Please retweet it. We got a super chat here from somebody named Peter Berg. Seinfeld reference. Mr. Berg. Have you canceled that meeting yet, Mr. Berg? Guys, you need to decorate this space with the trans flag. True. I'll show him why we don't in a second. The Ukraine flag. True. And list your preferred pronouns to be like marking the doorway before Passover and spare this channel from Bill C11. It's a lot of things in one, Peter. I can't do all of it. I can give you.
Is that a Canadian bill? That's
yeah.
Another dystopian freaking.
If we take off our cameras here for a second. Yeah, so we can give them the Ukraine flag. And then if you look behind me, Peter, you'll see that the wall, where can I take something off? You can't really see it. The wall right here is white, and then you can kind of see, I'll take this super chat off the screen, and then you can see pink right there. Pink right there. So really, I am sort of living in a trans flag room, and I do live in this room. I sleep on this chair all night. Let's see another couple people in the chat here talking about the Ukraine flag still in the background. That's good. Somebody's gonna. I worry that somebody will just see that in passing and be like, "Oh, this channel." Jordan Peterson said there's 2 types of women who dress up as women: sexual deprivation, and then the other one is to get it on second camera. There's 2 things Jordan Peterson says. I can't remember the second one. Somebody else says
clean your room.
Shadow, what is that? Shadow Fire. I hope World War III happens soon, or a massive asteroid slams into our planet. See the Happiness says making the band, watching the making band videos y'all made. Thank you. Has nothing to do with this one, but thank you for watching. We do love making the band. The reason we haven't been doing it is because we had an event planned. We had one of the members of making the band, and I'm going to spill the beans now, Eric.
It was a while ago.
We had a poster made. The person told us, member of the band told us, create a poster, I'll share with my audience. And he shared it. And then an hour before going on, he said, "Oh, I can't make it." And that to me is he had something that he felt he had better to do. So homie, don't play that, as they said on In Living Color. And we're a little butthurt for it. I think we did do a couple episodes. We did a couple episodes after that, but we'll finish eventually. I don't know about today. We got lots of stuff on the go. Unless Eric gets mad at me, then I'll do it. If he's not mad at me, then I won't do it. This is the last thing I wanted to talk about. School board asked students to wear a sweater so they can turn down the heat to fight climate change. So this Canadian thing happened where...
Remember when it used to be called global warming, though, and things were supposed to be getting warm? They had to, so wearing a sweater doesn't really... Oh, man.
So for some reason, the World Wildlife Foundation has deep talons into the Ontario public school system in Canada, where a bunch of schools will do, like, look, they have just like events targeted at children. Seeing like polar bear walk, make these kids walk out and hold our signs. Then we've got, have a party. Like, this is directly targeted at children. Host your own creepy kids event. But so what they did is they somehow got these schools to join in. And what this is a picture of a school who actually did it. I don't know if it was what year it was. I don't remember. But it was a school that actually did it. And there's schools by me doing this. So the school board that instituted this time around is the same school board as Boob Teacher, as as I wrote, infamous teacher with prosthetic breasts. So they sent an email to parents that I included down here. It was sent to me by one of the parents. I don't know if it's going to load, but basically they said National Winter Walk to School Day is February 2nd. So this is hold on, that's a different portion. It's doubly terrible. So our school building, I love how they say it so nicely. On National Sweater Day, the WWF, and that's not the wrestling organization. That's the that's the World Wildlife Foundation that sued the World Wrestling Federation, asked Canadians to turn down thermostats by 2 degrees Celsius at home, at school, and at work to highlight the role that energy conservation plays in preventing climate change. Our school buildings will be a little chillier on February 2nd, so we're asking that all students wear or bring a sweater to school.
They were going to do it regardless. They're doing it.
Oh, yeah.
They're turning totally down
not
the
so they can. It's totally not so they can save money, right? So on the same email, these are in separate paragraphs in the email, but also on February 2nd, they said it's Walk to School Day on February 2nd. Please consider leaving the car at home and enjoy a cool walk to school. Remember that part, a cool walk to school on February 2nd. The letter also suggests children bring a separate set of clothes to change into at school if their clothes get wet. On February 2nd, 2023, it was approximately 16 degrees, which felt like 3 degrees when factoring in the wind chill. So it felt like well below freezing. It was well below freezing, and it felt even worse. And they're saying to not only wear an extra sweater because it's going to be colder so we can save on our bills and pretend like it's for climate change. Bring a change of clothes in case you get wet on your walk to school in 16-degree weather. But also bring an extra sweater to donate for our cause. So we want you to do all this stuff to save us money, and then also give stuff away, and your child has to walk to school in freezing cold weather, and also so basically sacrifice yourself for the environment. That's what they're teaching these kids. And the quote from from one of the parents that showed me the email was, they claim that they're saving the world one sweater at a time, forgetting that the cotton from those sweaters is most likely farmed by a child getting paid less than $1 a day if they're lucky. Will live to 30 years old, which is hilarious. And also the email mentions how they have an Indigenous rights and education program available, offering support to students for learning about anti-colonial practices and the factual history, truths of the impacts of colonialism. And of course, I read this email, and what it's saying is that they're going to teach you the actual history, Eric Butler, not that bullshit colonialist history you thought was true.
But just so I'm clear, I want to go back a little bit. You're telling me that this just happens to be the same school with the fake boob teacher?
It's the same district, the Halton District
Same
School
district.
Board. So we don't do it by like we do and we don't. Like the school board, it doesn't necessarily coincide with like a governmental body. The Halton District School Board is just like it's the school board that governs a bunch of schools in the area. But
Well,
yeah,
somebody
it's
needs to look into that
prosthetic boob teacher.
that district or something, because clearly,
Well, they have, and they stand by their creepy views. They stood by boob teacher. They'll probably stand by this. Indoctrinating the children is more important than educating the children. I think that much is obvious, isn't it?
absolutely. I mean, and especially for guys like boob teacher, which I don't know. We don't know really how that story ends, but I still feel like it's got to be. I mean, because again, it's just like the drag queen. It's completely comical. It's not even in the realm of possibility. We're not talking about, you know, Blair White who could pass as an actual woman. We're talking about just a caricature. We're talking about complete cartoonish caricatures of what a woman is. We're talking about nonsense. It's freezing cold, right? Like, oh yeah, not only should you wear a sweater because it's cold in the school, but you should walk in February. What, you wouldn't
In
walk to school
Canada.
in February here in Arizona? I mean, okay, it's not bad.
Don't
it's
I
not
get praise for converting that into to Fahrenheit for you guys? It doesn't make any sense. Did you know that if you go down to like minus 30, it's the same temperature in Celsius and Fahrenheit? At some point, they match.
Yeah, I think you actually mentioned
Yeah,
that to me. I don't.
it's a big problem for me.
Well, it's it's fine here now. It's like 72. But
Okay.
just a couple days ago it was like 55, like a week or so ago, and that's cold. You wouldn't even walk to school in 55. Well, maybe you could walk to school in 55, but
The
16,
children are walking to
it's
school
insane.
anyways if they can't afford to walk, if their parents can't drive them for any reason.
Well,
But the kids in this district are better off. I'll say they live in a richer area, and they're probably doing this because it's no, I don't want to get into that. They're probably doing it because it's an area they want to target with people. I'll just say that they want to target
at least
well-off middle-class Canadians, basically.
yeah, and obviously that's where a whole bunch of little Greta Thunbergs and weirdo commies and stuff like that. But on the plus side, and maybe we'll get to this next week, it's kind of an evergreen story. At least they don't have prostitutes walking around outside the school. So congrats on that.
We could try to end on a little bit of that, I think. See how much of it plays here. Got volume? No.
Rosa Vargas is calling the Oakland Police Department as she's getting in line to pick up her 5-year-old daughter from school.
Person's voice, though.
Wondering if it would be possible if you guys can send over a police officer just to keep an eye on the area.
Just outside her car window, a young girl in black stilettos is seen walking across the street from St. Anthony's Catholic School in East Oakland.
Like I told you, they've followed me a couple times.
Vargas is talking about pimps believed to be trafficking young women along East 15th Street just off International Boulevard, right in front of the K-8 grade school.
Put your seatbelt on.
Her daughter Mia asked what the young woman was wearing.
She's like, "Mom, do you like what she's wearing?" And she points out. I'm like, "Don't turn around, don't look." The girls, they're just like.
Some might argue she knows this world
These videos captured on 4 different dates over the past couple weeks show young women wearing barely any clothing as they walk down the school sidewalk,
just living their truth there,
or directly across from the school. All of this captured as children were being dropped off or walked.
All right, I made a cardinal mistake. Thanks for watching, everybody. UOPod.com. Like, share, subscribe. Join our Patreon, and as soon as we hit a certain threshold, we'll start pumping out content there. Eric, anything to say? Anything to say about praising Ukraine, either?
No, I am going to recommend that you buy my book, New York City 2020. It gets better with age. I promise you that. It's 2023 now, and it's a great look. I'm actually really glad that I did this. It looks to look back at it now, you won't be disappointed to see what was happening there. I know.
I still have it here. I tried to grab it, but it's underneath my Pac-Man Mini arcade game.
Oh wait.
represents the dichotomy of the problem was this one captured on Monday, the start of Catholic Schools Week, where a mom was walking across the street with her daughter as two women walked behind her. One appeared to be soliciting right in front of the school gate.
Do you mind? Could I talk to you for a second? No, I'm fine, thank you. I'm with Channel 7.
A big red flag is that they're walking in the middle of the street.
What you're doing out here? What? I was just curious what you're doing out here.
Man, I'm just picking up a bag of chips and smoking right there. Going for a little walk.
What were you talking to that gentleman about?
My chips.
Do you see this every day?
Turn it up, Jordan.